So I went out to get something to eat with my kids, and we were driving around and enjoying time in the yellow Mach 1. And we went to go get ice cream, and we were in this parking lot, and right over here you can see there's a high school. And every time I see that high school, it reminds me of a memory of a black Mustang Cobra convertible. And so when my brother and I were in high school, probably around 2001 or so, and we had just got the first 97 Laser Red Mustang V6 5-speed, and this car was a car we got to share first until I was able to get one of my own that was identical, and that's all in the story about my first Mustang. But basically we had this 97 Mustang and we were so excited to have it, and we took it to the soccer game there at the high school. And it was just so fun to be teenagers and have your driver's license and go somewhere, and we were so thrilled to have a Mustang. And while we were sitting in the bleachers at that high school watching the soccer game, all of a sudden we heard this loud V8 roaring, and we heard tires squealing, and we looked over, and the road goes right by the soccer field there, and there was a roundabout. And on that roundabout, drifting all around and creating a cloud of smoke, was a black 96 to 98 Mustang Cobra convertible with black leather interior. And it sounded so good, and we just saw this Cobra just drifting around that roundabout, just creating clouds of smoke, and then it took off and drove away. And so we went to leave the game, and as we were walking through the parking lot, that Cobra was sitting there with a kid sitting in there, top down, young high school kid. And he looked kind of like a punk, and my brother and I walked up to him and said, "Hey, that sounded really good." And he looked up at us and said, "I don't know what you're talking about." We said, "Dude, that was sweet. We saw the car. We saw it, drifting around, and it sounded great with the V8 and everything. And we have Mustangs too. We got the 97 Mustang." And he's like, "Okay, maybe it was pretty cool." So he admitted it. And we looked at the car, and there was a huge smash in the quarter panel right behind the driver, but on the quarter panel area there above the scoop. And we asked him what happened there, and he said, "I was picking up a friend, and the top was down, and he was carrying a dumbbell, and he went to jump into the back seat, and he dropped the dumbbell on the quarter panel and dented it." Looking back, I'm wondering if that was really the true story. But anyway, it was pretty cool. We saw the car around once in a while, and then one night we saw it parked on an overpass, pulled over with 3 police cars behind it, and the kid was getting cuffed for something. So that was the last time we ever saw that car. But anyway, every time I go here to this parking lot and I see that high school over there, it brings back that memory. And that was one of the first places we got to take our Mustang when we got our driver's license. We went to a basketball game there. It wasn't the high school that my brother and I attended, but it was one of the competing high schools, so we would go there and watch games and stuff, and so that was just pretty fun. So then we headed home, and I wanted to clean up the exhaust tips and the gas tank under the car because they were getting kind of grungy and driven in the rain and stuff. That was a nice little trip to town, something to eat, having a nice time driving the car around, just having some fun. And the Mach 1 looked beautiful. I haven't gotten this car out for a little while, and so it was time to get under here and clean it up a little bit. You can see the exhaust tips they're a little bit dirty and a little bit rich on the exhaust tips from running with the exhaust setup it has. And so I just wanted to clean all this up and just there's a little bit of, you know, water splatter. I don't daily drive it anymore, but I used to, and so if it rained and I'd drive it in the rain, that kind of shot up on the exhaust tips and stuff. So time to get under here and clean, and I wanted to just use some clean water. Usually that gets most of it off, and I sometimes will use like a degreaser, like Simple Green or something, but they cleaned up pretty well. But as far as the exhaust tips go, I wanted to get all the carbon off of those and clean them up. And usually a little bit of Mother's Mag and aluminum polish will take that right off. But this has been on here for maybe a year or so without cleaning it really well. Like since I was daily driving it, I put about 10,000 miles on it with this exhaust setup. And that mag aluminum polish just wasn't doing the trick. So a little bit of WD-40 on the rag, that really broke up all that and cleaned it up really nicely. So I'm very happy with how that turned out. So it looks really good to have those rolled tips. These are the stock Mach 1 rolled tips that would come on the Mach 1. See, here's one that I haven't cleaned yet, how dirty it looks. But they look really good once they're cleaned up and stuff. So I just would spray some on the rag so it wouldn't get it all over the car, and then just rub those tips, the rolled part of them, and just break up all that carbon and clean it up. So that turned out nicely, and I need to go and do this to some of my other cars too, but I haven't really had to do WD-40 before. Usually, like I said, it comes off with the mag aluminum polish, and this was kind of like pulling out the big guns to get it to clean up nice. But I'm glad it did, because it was pretty baked on there and it wasn't coming off. My friend had gotten an aviator engine for his 99 Cobra, and he took the heads off, and he was telling me that he sprayed some WD-40 on the pistons and it cleaned it up really well. So that's where I got the idea to get the carbon off with WD-40, but they turned out really nice. I think it looks good now, and it looks very presentable, and something you actually do notice. Now when I see the car sitting in the garage and I walk by it, I can see it because it's such a difference, and I think it looks really good. So that's just kind of cleaning up the exhaust tips, and I did the gas tank as well, and I just used the water on the gas tank because I had already armor-alled it before. But that's something that I think a lot of Mustangs need, because you see that a lot, as you'll see when I pull the car out in this next shot. You'll see how you can see the gas tank, but I cleaned that up too because sometimes the gas pump will spill a little bit on it. That definitely looks a lot better with the exhaust tips cleaned up and the fuel tank cover all shined up. So thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for more Mustang content.